Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the 12th part of the Star Trek marathon. And today we're going to be talking about my least favorite Star Trek film of all time, Star Trek Into Darkness. Um, as you guys may have seen in the last video, I do not like this film at all, and I think it's an utter train wreck that shouldn't have existed and belongs on the floor. Shall we talk about it? So this film was directed by J.J. Abrams, who obviously made the previous film, and will have some involvement with Star Trek Beyond, but will not be the actual director of the film. That will go to Justin Lin, but I'll talk about more about that when I get to Beyond. This was released on May 16th of 2013. It was made on a budget of $190 million. Domestically, it made over $228 million. Worldwide, it made over $467 million. So worldwide, this film was a success, but domestically, it barely made its budget back. So domestically, I would consider this a flop, but worldwide, it was considered a success, which did lead to them making one more film, which is Beyond, and I honestly think it's my favorite out of the Kelvin Timeline films, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. Um, but I just don't get how J.J. Abrams went from an actual really good Star Trek movie with the 2009 film, and then just stooped to such a blow with Star Trek Into Darkness. Like, you had potential, you had somewhere to go with this, have original ideas. Don't rehash it. Because, like, when you try to rehash as many things that you did, I would say actually, like, about 20 years ago. No, actually, no. By the time this film was made, it was like 30 years ago. So don't try and rehash stuff from the best Star Trek film, which was released 30 years before, and half-ass it. It's so easy. And there's something I do want to mention about. I want to quickly go back to the Star Trek and Nemesis review, because there is something I did forget to mention about that. So for Star Trek and Nemesis, people have noticed that. Oh, it doesn't really fucking matter anyway. Um, this is a complaint that a lot of people had about Star Trek Nemesis, that they talked about how they rehashed stuff from like the Wrath of Khan, about how like there's like the slow kind of space battles between Picard and the Romulans, or in Shinzon. Well, Picard and the Romulans versus Shinzon, and kind of like how Kirk and Khan fight in this film. But they also have kind of like the political kind of message, or motive for between both the Federation and the Romulans, kind of like the same thing that they had with the idea in Star Trek 6 between uh, about the idea that the Klingons want peace with the Federation, and there's some Klingons that don't want that to happen, which is the same thing that happens in Nemesis. But in that film, I honestly think it worked, because they don't like they literally only use like one thing from like both of the films, and I think that honestly worked. This film, they tried to use everything that was good about Star Trek 2, but they half-assed it so much that it's not even worth watching. Like, I honestly think they should have gone from the 2009 film, forget about this film entirely, have Beyond be your second film, and then do something completely different for your third film. Because clearly, with the Kelvin timeline, um, clearly what you shouldn't do is rehash a whole bunch of stuff from previous films and have original ideas. Because with these two films, they did it right. They had new ideas and they worked, both of them. But with the second film, they wanted to say, hey, what was the most pop? Let's try and bring something back and try and do do it in the Kelvin timeline. So, oh yeah, let's just bring Khan back in the second film. I just think it's way too early to bring back Khan. Ugh. And most people agree with me about that part as well. Um, but I just think there's a lot of bad things, and I'll get to them when I. Well, let's just talk about the plot. So the crew of the Starship Enterprise returns home after an act of terrorism within its own organization destroys most of Starfleet and what it represents, leaving Earth in a state of chaos. With a personal score to settle, Captain James T. Kirk, played by Chris Pine again, leads the crew of the Enterprise on a mission to capture a one-man machine, a mass weapon of mass destruction, thereby propelling all of them into an epic game of life and death. So, doesn't that sound pretty familiar? Yeah, that's basically the exact same plot of Star Trek 2. And it was done better, even like 31 years before this film. And this one did it better. It just baffles me that they thought that going with Khan was a good option for the second film, and it didn't work at all. It's uh so as I mentioned over these last 7 minutes now, the biggest conflict for me, or the biggest issue, is Khan. Not saying that Benedict Cumberbatch was bad. Um, it's just that, like I said, I think it's just way too early to introduce Khan into the new series after only one film. And, um, so not only they brought back Khan now, they also brought back Carol Marcus. And now she's like a, possibly around the same age as Kirk. And, uh, I'm just, I'm baffled that, like, let me. Yes, I did get a lighter blue hair actually. Um, it just baffles me that they were able to try and get away with this and pass it off as a new movie when it's such a rehash. And I really don't want to I don't want to repeat myself, but it's just bad, and I can't believe they actually were able to get away with this. But um, like I said, Carol Marcus is played by, or uh, she, she's played by Alice Eve, who I don't really recognize who from anything else besides this film, and she actually has my favorite scene in the whole film. We have the fantastic Peter Weller playing Admiral Marcus, who you guys may remember more likely for his roles. Sorry about that cut. Who is more well known for his roles as Robocop in Robocop 1 and 2, which, will I get to this? Will I get to the Robocop films? Yes, but I still need to get Robocop 2, which I do plan on getting the Screen Factory release, but will I be covering this series at some point? Most likely. Just need to get all the films. And am I talking about the remake? Probably not, but I'll see what happens. Which might as well mention it now. I've been thinking about uh actually no, I'm gonna save that for in a few videos. Um, we have the returning Bruce Greenwood as Christopher Pike, who makes his final appearance as Christopher Pike. Um, who has actually no, I have two favorite scenes. Um, but honestly, these two favorite scenes aren't even worth watching the film for, cause This film is like over 2 hours, like 2 hours and 12 minutes long, which I think is 2 hours and 12 minutes too long. Um, and these two scenes really don't make it worth watching the whole film. If you want to watch these two scenes, I'm going to mention after I mention all of the cast members. Um, you could probably most likely look them up on YouTube. It's simply it. That's the best way to do it. Um, and then we have because I actually watched this film recently, and um I didn't see them, but apparently both Chris Hemsworth and Jennifer Morrison both return, and I'm not sure about that. Because I did actually watch the whole film, and I did not see a single scene that they are returning. So I think that's kind of misleading. Um, but apparently they're in there. But if I'm wrong about that, please correct me. Um, so yeah, I'm just gonna mention my two favorite scenes right now. So my first favorite scene is when, um, after uh, Khan's first big act, which is I believe he blew up a research facility in London. I know it's in London, but I think it's a research facility. Um, the big admirals and captains who are trying to hunt this man down, who I believe he's called John. Before he's revealed to be Khan, he is called John Addison. I'm not sure. So they're talking about how like he blew up this place in London, and now his whereabouts are unknown. And Kirk makes a very good point that he knew that if he blew up the place, then Starfleet was gonna have a meeting with all the captains and first officers, and he would have targets for them. And also, you start to see this red light just pop up, and you realize there's a ship, like a little like little scout fighter, and obviously it's Khan, and he starts shooting the place, and it's insane. Um, but yeah, he starts like shooting up the place, and the admirals are getting the admirals and captains are getting shot. Admiral Marcus is the only one that gets out alive, and unfortunately we do lose Christopher Pike in the scene, who does get shot, and then Spock carries him over to the side where obviously he isn't shooting at, and um he Spock tries to mind meld with him, and Pike does unfortunately die, while Kirk takes a rifle from one of the security guards that is dead on the floor. He takes it and wraps like a fire hose around it, and so he throws it at the ship, and it get because he notices that the kind of like the core of the ship, like the deflector dish kind of thing, is actually like sucking up things like debris and stuff. So he throws it, and the rifle obviously goes in, and the the wire kind of keeps on going until like the whole brick like comes out, and it smashes up the reactor, and Khan gets out, and you see like him beaming out, and then the ship falls, crashes. Oh, and I'm really tired about all. I'm really sorry about all the yawning. Um, and obviously the ship crashes and it falls down. And Kirk comes over, and he's probably the best acting that Chris Pine gives in this whole film, and probably the best acting that any of the cast members gives in this film. Is when Kirk comes over to see Pike's body, and he just breaks. And it honestly, the first time I watched this, I got a little emotional. But now I'm just like, well, you just killed off the most interesting character in the whole film, and now we just gotta stick with these dim nuts. And yeah, it's very unsatisfactory. It's very it's very sad, but it's also just like I said, it's like, oh, you just killed off the best character in the whole film. Now what are we gonna do? And um and then my second favorite scene is when they already have Khan by this point. They're on the Enterprise, and then the USS Vengeance shows up, which is like this big ass ship. Unfortunately, I don't have a model of it. Not even like a little like tiny one to show, but it's like it's even big. Actually, I do have a little. eh, I do have a. There goes the display stand. I do have a little Enterprise model that I did get from the Star Trek Beyond gift set. But yeah, it's basically so. Here's the first Enterprise. The Vengeance is like that big. It's like twice the size of this ship. Um, but yeah, I'll figure something about you later. But yeah, it's like twice the size, or even 3 times the size of the Enterprise, and Admiral Marcus is on there, and um, Carol Marcus is on the bridge, and she gives this actually really good speech about how, like, is this um, like Carol like basically gives a speech like his like the admiral that's on the ship right now is not the same that she remembered who raised him, and she basically claims that she's not his his daughter anymore, and so she's like, well, if you want to destroy the ship, you're gonna have to destroy me with it. And I'm like, that's very cool. And then obviously, I thought honestly the shields were up, but apparently they weren't because the Vengeance is able to beam her to the Vengeance. So I'm like, okay. Um, I mean, yeah, I guess they were just a setting duck by this point, but still, they were. I would assume they would have their shields up when they saw it, but I guess they didn't. And that's it for my favorite scenes. It's literally only two, and like I said, you can literally just look them up on YouTube. It's literally not worth watching this two 2 hour and 12-minute piece of crap just to watch two scenes. And it's it's sad just to see like this film, like, honestly, besides like the rehashing and stuff, I honestly think this film had potential. Like, this film right here could have had potential to be at least a good Star Trek movie and an okay film. But no, they just literally just try and reuse all these gimmicks from Star Trek 2 that worked well and fit it into this new era of Star Trek, and I don't think it really works at all. It's just it's just blasphemy that they were able to get away with this being a Star Trek movie. This seems like a like a like not like honestly, like, this seems like a 30-minute Star Trek episode from like one of the TV series that's considered to be one of the worst episodes of the series. And I even say that Star Trek Insurrection is better than this film. Yes, I did say it. Star Trek Insurrection is better than this piece of crap. Ugh. Probably gonna get a lot of hate comments about that. But honestly, I don't care. This film, I honestly don't get why so many people put this above Star Trek Insurrection. Like, I kind of get that a little bit, but why put this above like the motion picture or Star Trek 5? Those films are way better than this thing that was able to be put on theaters and on DVD and Blu-ray and now on 4K. It's just ugh. I am like I'm honestly like honestly on the verge of getting a blowtorch and burning this thing to the fires of hell. Because I can't believe they made this piece of garbage into a real thing. And this, I just can't believe that people would actually like this film. It's like, just, I honestly want to break this thing. But I am resisting because I use this as a thing of torture to like to show that this is how you not make a Star Trek movie. This is how you make a crappy TV series episode and try and make it into a 2-hour action flick and failing magnificently. Um I mean, what am I supposed to talk about? Like the cast returning from Star Trek, the 2009 film. They all pretty much are the same generic. The characters that are dumbed down to these characters who have just generic lines, or just have stupid ass dialogue that doesn't make any sense, and two, that really pisses me off. And there's like I can literally talk about all the plot holes in this film that like really piss me off, but I'm not going to because I people have already talked to death about these like these plot holes, and might as well mention one now. If Admiral Marcus wanted to destroy the torpedoes, all 72 that are in the current Enterprise, then why give them to James D. Kirk, who has acknowledged that he is a rebel that doesn't listen to orders? So when, like, do you really think that you're gonna trust him in taking these 72 torpedoes and firing them on the Klingon homeworld? Like, I can't believe that Admiral's so stupid. And I mean, yeah, I kind of feel bad for saying this, but honestly, I was glad when the Admiral died. Cause yeah, I mean, I get it. It's Peter Weller. You can't honestly really say that about Peter Weller. I mean, yeah, he was Robocop for 2 films, and he was great. But when you give him like half-ass dialogue, that, ugh, I just can't believe this film is actually real. That it exists and was put into theaters and on store shelves and was said that this was a movie. This is a crappy television episode that was extended by 2 hours. I just want to go and watch Robocop now. But I can't do that because I still got to finish this marathon. And I got, well, technically one more film to do, but I have an extra movie to do, which is actually, I'm actually changing this up a bit. It's not going to be The Hunt for Red October. It's something extra that I believe will be coming today, and I will be making a video about that today. So stay tuned for later today, where I'm going to be talking about a Blu-ray that I'm going to be getting, and will be the final kind of part to the Star Trek marathon. And I'll definitely say this much: that film is way better than this piece of garbage. I guess I should probably, well, I really don't, I don't want to make this video way too short, but I don't, I don't know what else to talk about. I mean, should I really talk about the visual effects? It's the same as the first film, but I guess a little bit more polished. Okay, this was done by ILM. Let me see if did they. Yeah, they did do it for the first film. Probably, this is probably the only one of the only good things about the film. But like I said about my 2 favorite scenes earlier, I don't think that's the visual effects are worth watching these films or watching this film at all. I mean, yeah, granted, like the first film, yeah, it's just over 2 hours long, but at least this film had a purpose, and it's actually kind of good. And at least even if I don't want to watch the film in its entirety, I can look up the visual effects and say, hey, those look nice. And this was made in 1979. When you have a 2013 movie that looks even more fake than a film that was made over 30 years ago, at the time that this film was released, that's showing you that your film sucks. And I really, like, I really need to do something about that light. Um, I guess they're a little bit more polished in this film than in the first film, but even in the first film, they look great. So this film isn't really saying much. Um, I guess might as well talk about the 4K, even though there's like only one disc in mine. Um, so there was supposed to be. It was basically supposed to be the same thing as the Star Trek 2009 Blu-ray, where it's a 3 disc set, where you get the first disc is the 4K, where um Star Trek Into Darkness in high definition with approximately 30 minutes of scenes expanded to fill the screen, 4 times the resolution of full HD, HDNR, high dynamic range, generic 4K stuff. And then, like I said, the Blu-ray disc are the same disc that you got in 2013, and this was 2016. Um, well, actually, no, this one says 2019, so I don't know. So might as well talk about the fun facts about this film. And I honestly find these more interesting than the film itself. Um, so the first fun fact is that did you know that the portable transwarp beaming device was actually a vacuum cleaner? So yeah, they were the Khan's transwarp beaming device may looks kind of looks familiar to you guys, and that's an old vacuum cleaner, because when they were trying to design the portable beaming device, they were like having some trouble trying to figure out like what was it gonna look like, and then I think their janitor at the time came in with this old kind of vacuum cleaner, and they were like, wait, that's it, that's the design that we're gonna that looks like a transport beaming device. So I don't know if they actually went out and bought one, because I don't think that those kind of vacuum cleaners were made at the time, and I don't think they are. Or they just took it from the janitor and just said, "Hey, we're just gonna take this and use it in a Star Trek film." But anyways, um, they took one of those old vacuum cleaners, spray painted black, put some like futuristic things on it, and then boom, you got a transport beaming device. That's how simple filmmaking is done, kids. Um, even like cracking jokes like that is even more funny than this garbage crap film. Um, and then the second fun fact is in the scene where Kirk and Scotty are on the Enterprise, and while it's tilting on its side, the actors weren't on a slant. So yeah, in the scene where after the Vengeance has disabled basically the Enterprise and it starts falling down into Earth's atmosphere, um, when like it starts tilting and stuff, when like the Scotty and Kirk are hanging on for dear life, they weren't actually on a slant. They were just holding on, and then the one girl, the one like ensign that falls down, she was literally just being pulled on wires. So the set wasn't actually tilted. They just tilted the camera, or they didn't. Well, it's a mixture of tilting the camera, but also having some cool camera tricks to make it look like they're tilting. And there's another scene where they are running across like the walls and they have to jump across the corridors. Um, I think they literally that in that scene, yeah, they kind of they built that corridor on its side so that they can run across and make it look like the ship is falling. Um, and honestly, who would want to do that? Like it would be fun to do, but like, God, that would make you sick. Um, but um, so I guess my last actual kind of good thing I do want to mention about this film is the score. Who thankfully they did bring back Michael Gucciera. Uh, I forgot his name again. I gotta remember how to say people's names. So I'll be right back. So I'm back. So I just got the name again. So Michael Gucciano. Well, I just butchered it again. See what happens when you watch a very bad Star Trek movie? You get so pissed off that you can't even pronounce someone's name. So Michael Gucciano. I keep on doing this again. Giacchino. So Michael Giacchino. Jesus, I can't. For the life of me, I'm so pissed off about this film sucking so bad that I can't even say someone's name. So Michael Giacchino returns to compose the music, and thankfully, it's a very good score, just like the first one. But might as well just buy the soundtrack by itself, because honestly, watching it with the film is just saying your film is that bad to where I just want to fall asleep to the score, and I'm just very I'm just surprised that this film is so bad that the score is way better than the film itself. So, after the last 31 minutes that I've been talking about this film, I hate this film. I wish this film could go die in a fire. And I just want to. I want to. I want to. I really want to destroy this, but I don't. I don't want to because I want to use this as a thing of torture to show people how not to make a Star Trek movie. But I guess in a way, this is how they make a bad. This is how they make a bad television episode and try to extend it by 3 hours to make any. Well, extend it by 2 hours to make it try and make it better, and failing significantly. So I'm gonna give this film a 1 out of 10. This is a terrible movie, which I don't think anyone should watch, and I'd rather watch Star Trek Insurrection, Star Trek 5, and Star Trek Nemesis over this piece of crap. Thankfully, the last film in the Star Trek marathon will be a significant improvement over this film. Um, so tomorrow I'm going to be talking about Star Trek Beyond, which has thankfully brought back the series for me, and it's unfortunately the last film that we're going to be talking about in the Star Trek marathon. But it's a significant improvement over this film in every way. So don't watch this film. Don't ever watch it. Just go from Star Trek 2009 to this film. So anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed, and see you guys in the next video. Live long and prosper. Out.